No strike. Aaron waiting. The outfield deep and straight away. Fastball is a high drive into deep left center field. Buckner goes back to the fence. It is gone.
What's up, YouTube? I'm Scotty, and this is Scotty Says. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Let me know how you feel about the content of this video and what your thoughts and memories were of the great Hank Aaron. I just wanted to do this quick video because, as most of you know, a legend transcended today. Henry Louis Aaron, the great hammering Hank Aaron, died today at the age of 86 in Atlanta, Georgia. Henry Aaron, to really make it short and simple, was the greatest of the great. To me, he is the home run king. Henry Aaron was born February 5th, 1934 in Mobile, Alabama. Died today, January 22nd, 2021 in Atlanta, Georgia. Hank also was known as the Hammer. And the Hammer began his professional career in 1952 in the Negro Leagues. As you probably know, black men were not allowed to play professional baseball or sports in general in America, or do much of anything else with white men for a good portion of this nation's history. And as far as baseball is concerned, the so-called color barrier wasn't broken in professional baseball until Jackie Robinson, 1947. In fact, Hank Aaron would go on to say that Jackie Robinson was his role model. He idolized Jackie. He was Hank's inspiration. Hank recounts a story when he was a little boy, telling his father in Mobile that he wanted to be a professional baseball player. And his father quickly threw cold water on that. Said, you can't be a professional baseball player. Black men are not allowed to play professionally. Think of something you can be. But when Jackie Robinson became the first black man to play in the major leagues for the Dodgers, Hank Aaron knew that there was hope. And he set about finding his way to the bigs. Well, he started off in 52 in the Negro Leagues, but by 1954, Henry Aaron was in the bigs, playing for the Milwaukee Braves. 3 years later, Hank Aaron would be a world champion with the Milwaukee Braves. His numbers are just remarkable, off the chart. To this day, Hank Aaron leads all of professional baseball history with 2,297 runs batted in. Still the record in all of baseball. He is now second in home runs to Barry Bonds, who eclipsed his 755 ultimately. He is third all time in hits. Hank Aaron had 3,771 hits. And as you know, baseball folk, 3,000 hits is golden. It's Hall of Fame territory. The only two people that hit more than Hank Aaron, that have more hits than Hank Aaron, Cobb and Rose. The only two players to have 4,000 hits. Hank Aaron, still to this day, is the career leader in total bases. 6,856 total bases. He won 3 Gold Gloves. Hank Aaron batted a career .305. The man could hit a .305 career batting average with all that power. But what he is most known for, of course, was setting the all-time home run record. And more specifically, by blasting past an American icon, the white Babe Ruth. People said for a long time that record could never be broken. The Babe, the Babe, the Babe. Now remember, the Babe was the beneficiary of affirmative action. The Babe never had to face pitching like Satchel Paige. The Babe was able to have his numbers be upheld while other numbers, for example, the great Josh Gibson, who by all accounts hit the most home runs of any man in any league, in any professional scenario ever. Josh Gibson reportedly hit over 800 home runs. But because he did so at a time before the baseball color barrier was broken, those numbers have been lost to history. Now that the Negro Leagues are going to have their numbers considered valid and transposed over into professional baseball numbers, I have to wonder, will they go ahead and confirm that Josh Gibson hit more home runs than even Barry Bonds, more home runs than anybody, with over 800. Josh Gibson was a great player. And it is a sad, sorry shame that he was never able to play at the highest level, the big leagues, I mean to say, because of his skin, because of his melanated skin. Shameful. It's an awful shame and a stain on the country. But back to Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron withstood and endured so much hate, terrorism, death threats, kidnapping threats. They threatened to, this is all because a black man was inevitably going, it became clear at a certain point that this ball player was so great and so consistent that he was going to break Babe Ruth's home run record, the most hallowed record in all of sports. That's what they said. It was the single most hallowed record in all of sports, the home run record, the career home run record. And once it became clear that Henry Aaron was going to eclipse that record and become the all-time home run king, why, the racists were apoplectic, beside themselves with hate, animus. And so they resorted to all manner of terrorism. Hate mail was just the beginning. All of the nasty, foul, evil things that they said about him, about his family. But it went so far beyond that. They threatened if he broke Babe Ruth's record, the racists told him, that they would kidnap his children and murder them. He'd find them somewhere murdered in the woods. This is what they threatened him, that they would cause harm to come upon his wife and family, that they would kidnap he himself. They told him he would never, if he hit 7:15, he would never make it around the bases to touch home plate, that he'd be shot dead before he could set his foot on home plate to make it official, that they, the hateful racists, would never allow it. And he had to play under that kind of duress, trauma, stress, strain. Why? All because the lie of racism, the hate, the virus of white supremacy. Hank Aaron was extraordinarily consistent. He's one of two players whoever hit 25 or more home runs for 15 years. 15 years. Consistently, inexorably. Home Run Hank. He was amazing. And remember, no steroids, no special creams and clears and injections in the rears. Hank Aaron did what he did with pig feet and beer. I'm sorry, Hank, that was uncalled for. My bad. But my point remains valid. Hank was au natural, okay? And he did what he did under the intense hatred of a nation of racists. First of all, he was in that very next generation of black ball players who came into the major leagues after Jackie Robinson. We all know what Jackie Robinson went through. All of the vitriol, the hatred that he had to play through and endure. Why? Melanin in the skin, that's all. The insanity, the madness, the sickness of racism. Well, Hank was in that next generation. Jackie came in 47. Go, Jackie, go. Go, Jackie, go. And Hank Aaron was in 54. And I know how I'm a baseball guy. I love the game, always have from a little guy. But I know when you go to those professional stadiums, how those racists are there. They're out there and they're drinking. And they feel entitled and they're yelling stuff. They're yelling at the ball. They resent these guys. These are multi-million-dollar ball players nowadays. I believe it was Torrey Hunter who said, I believe it was Torrey Hunter, who said he had all of his agents and everyone who dealt with his contracts made aware that he refused to play for the Red Sox, that he'd play with any other team, but he would not play for Boston. Because as a visiting player, he saw the vitriol, the racist nastiness, the shouts and slurs and epithets from the racists in the stands for their own players, and not only the visiting players, for their own players. He said, no, this is, I mean, it's bad everywhere, but Boston is worse than anywhere. Including the South, he said. My point being, black ball players, now Torrey Hunter, this is recently, in this millennium. But my point is, black ball players from the beginning, from Jackie in 1947 onward, have had to deal with hateful, racist, in the stands, yelling, screaming, all of this nasty, hateful, racist, spewing garbage. Jackie had to deal with it from the other players, teammates. And Hank experienced some of that. Experienced a lot of it. But it went to a special circle of hell when the racists became clear, when it became clear to them that Henry Aaron was about to break Babe Ruth's record. As a youth, growing up in Mobile, Alabama, Henry Aaron tells a story about how the Ku Klux Klan would parade through the streets of his little town at night. Bold, big show parade. Not necessarily to be violent per se, but just to let the black people know they were there. And they felt completely emboldened and entitled to show themselves. Mental terrorism, psychological terrorism. Hank Aaron would go on to say that at a certain point, he really didn't know if he'd be hurt. But he played through all of it, extraordinarily consistent. And eventually, at the very beginning of the 1974 season in April, I believe it was opening day, tied Babe Ruth. And now the only thing left was to break the record. April 8th, 1974, Hank Aaron smashed a drive into deep left center field over the fence. And he rounded first base and into history. And as he rounded second base, I'll never forget, two white men came running from out of the crowd. And they grabbed either side of Hank. But he sort of almost, he noticed them, he sort of shrugged them off, and he just kept running. That image is blazoned in my mind. He just kept running. There was fear, man. He had to feel it. He didn't know what those white guys were coming to do to him. They told him they weren't going to let him touch home plate. Were they about to stab him, shoot him, grab him, tackle him? He just kept running. I love Hank Aaron. For me, Hank Aaron is the home run king. Yes, I know Josh Gibson hit more. We don't know exactly how many more. And yes, I know Barry Bonds is the current major league leader. But for me, Hank Aaron, homering, hammering, Hank Aaron is the home run king. Not just because he was so good to hit for average, to hit for power, consistency. Not just his on-field exploits, but to deal with everything he dealt with, the racial hatred in this country. I love Hank Aaron. Once he retired, he spent the rest of his life as a civil rights activist, trying to help people and justice be served. And I want to say I thank Hank Aaron. Was a life extraordinarily well lived, sir. A job well done. Rest in peace, Henry Louis Hammond Hank Aaron. I remember Hank said, when asked about that historic home run chase and the record and all of the surrounding turmoil, Hank said, I did it for Jackie. I did it for my people. And I did it for all the ones who called me N-word. Rest well, Henry. Legends never die.